So I played about 20 games of set 12 so far. This video is my first impressions. I'll be playing a lot more PvE before it goes live. We'll be playing about 100 games of it. And so if you would like to watch me testing the new set or come play with me in some viewer games, then please go over to twitch.tv/TrajanTC, give me a follow there, and come on by. So to preface this, this is a first impressions video, meaning that I will have a very soft opinion on the game, and I'll have more of a firmer opinion after about 100 games of PvE, but nothing crazy. And then I'll have a real strong opinion after about 200 games of live. I just wanted to preface that because honestly, I think it's like mad cringe to have such a strong hyperbolic opinion on a set and try to compare something you have 10 to 40 hours on to something that you have thousands of hours on. I think that is just, you know, at best, super weird, and at worst, intellectually dishonest. So that's not what I'm doing in this video. I'm just giving the first impressions. So to do that, I'm mainly just gonna focus on charms, the set mechanic, because I feel like that's the most important thing that you guys wanna know about, especially in its, you know, similarities to encounters, a mechanic that I personally cannot stand. And I know a lot of players, you know, it drove them away from the game, something like encounters. So in order to talk about charms, we have to talk about encounters. So let's go back to set 11 a little bit. When encounters are first announced, you guys can go back and watch my 100 game review video. I was very positive on encounters because encounters were designed to accomplish two goals. One, add replayability to the game, and two, enhance the skill expression and complexity of the game on the higher levels of play. Conceptually, I love that. That's why I was very positive on encounters when it first got announced, because those make a lot of sense to me. I think that's the direction TFT needs to go into. I think the game is already complex enough and doesn't have to be more complex, but I do like it conceptually. Encounters were very, very cool. Now in execution, it obviously fell flat. The problem with encounters is due to its unpredictable nature and the severity of the RNG and how that can affect your game.
Unit, and watch this. I'm about to level, Ascendant, Golden Nico. Nah, fuck that. What is this? With four.
Now, obviously, TFT is based around RNG. It's an RNG game. You have to play into that. But I would think TFT has two ways that you really express skill in it. And I think they tried to play upon one of these. The two ways that you express skill in TFT comes one in like pre-planning and understanding the meta and understanding the lines, indicators to play the lines. Like that's when you know like what units you start the game with and what items you start the game with, what augments you get on 1-2 or I mean, sorry, 2-1 and 3-2 will indicate to you what lines and what compositions you're supposed to play. That is a very big skill in TFT. And the second skill that you express in TFT is typically going to be your ability to adapt on the fly to real-time circumstances. Encounters really emphasize the second skill, which is your ability to adapt. But the problem is it comes at the cost of the first skill. Let me explain. The reason why encounters are just so frustrating is because you could make every decision correct and it was incorrect and you had no control over it. For example, if you start the game and you're clearly supposed to play reroll Ghostlies or reroll Nar Senna, you're clearly supposed to play that. It's a very strong meta comp. You get all the openers, all the indicators to play it. And then on 3-2, you get the Kha'Zix augment after you already rolled a little bit. Or 3-3, you get the Kha'Zix augment where, you know, you can level up easier. And for no reason, for no fault of your own, you're just down 2 placements because all the other people who were planning on going level 9 and playing level 9 or level 8 comps now are at a vast advantage over you. And that is just not fun. It's completely unpredictable. And you never know if you're making the correct decisions sometimes whenever you're going down a line. And that is just incredibly frustrating. Obviously, over the course of 100 to 1,000 games, skill will be expressed in that way, and it won't matter. The best players will still go up to the top. But what I'm trying to express here is that it's just not fun. It's just really not fun. It's not fun getting shafted, you know, 10% of your games or 20% or maybe even 30% of your games. Like that's just not fun, just being shafted by things that are completely out of control. So let's talk about charms now. Charms, conceptually, they do two things. They add replayability to the game, and they also add skill expression and complexity. So how is it any different than encounters? Charms has a great thing that it scales with stage. So something as game warping as something like the Kha'Zix encounter would never be able to occur on something like stage 3 because it'd be too game warping. If you start the game, the best thing you might get is that you get 1 gold, which is very, very, very strong. 1 gold is amazing, but you're going to get things like that, 1 gold, or you get the refresher shop, and you know, maybe that's going to create some really high roll scenario and really fun thing. But hey, that's TFT. That's what we want. You know, we want a situation like last night. I had a situation where it said upgrade one of your random 1 cost units to a 2 cost unit. I happen to have an upgraded 1 cost unit, so I sold my entire bench, sold my entire board, except for my upgraded 1 cost, and then it turned into an RE 2 star, and I started out the game 2-1 with an RE 2 star for the price of 3 gold, which RE is a 2 cost. So like, obviously I high rolled there, but that's TFT. That's fun. That's TFT, right? And so obviously there'll be these high roll scenarios, but there won't be anything like, or there shouldn't be anything like with charms where it's so game warping that, you know, something like you clearly are supposed to play a certain composition, and then all of a sudden the game just says, haha, gotcha. I know you just made all the right decisions, but you're fucked now. The other thing great about charms is, so later on in the game, charms matter a lot more. But at the end of the game, that's when you have gold to spend. So the way that charms kind of work is they're going to show up in your shop every 3 or so shops. They may change the numbers, similar to Chosen. So if you were to not buy your Chosen from set 4, you will continue to see charms. You won't see them every shop. You'll see them every 3 shops or so. And I believe you see one every PvE round. I'm not really super sure on it right now. But so if you're rolling past your shops and you get offered this charm that's really great for your comp, great, you buy it, maybe costs 15 gold, whatever. Or you could or you could get offered a charm that costs 15 gold. It's terrible for your comp, and you keep rolling past it. Obviously, there's gonna be scenarios where you don't hit and you get no charm that is playable for you. But that's TFT, guys. Sometimes you go level 9, you roll 50 gold, you don't find any of the legendaries you look for, and you go 8th. Like, it happens, you know. So the point of me trying to explain this is charms. It just seems like it plays upon the normal rules of TFT. It allows you to adapt on the fly, but also doesn't inhibit your ability to kind of, you know, pre-plan a little bit or play down your lines. It's not, there's nothing that is going to crazily affect that. And if it does, you have some element of control over it. And that is a big difference between encounters and charms. Adds complexity, skill expression, replayability, but there is an element of control and less game warping earlier on into the games, unless you're on a portal where the charms are more powerful early on in the games, in which case that's just like a fun 1 game you're gonna have out of every 20 games. It's just gonna be, you know, maybe a fun occurrence. So as I said, I've only played about 20 games, so I can't really, you know, give too many thoughts on unit quality and that sort of thing. I just had to play a lot more games before I can talk about anything like that. But some quality of life changes that were great. I'm just gonna focus on the mana change. The mana change is amazing. So, you know, there's some downsides to it, but if you don't know the mana change, mana now banks, meaning that if you have something like a Spear of Sojin and your mana is 40, you know, when you have a Spear of Sojin, you get 15 mana every auto attack, the 5 from the base, and then, you know, the added Spear of Sojin there. So if you were to normally, like last set, you'd go 15 to 30 to 45, but your 45 wouldn't roll over, and then you would start casting again. You would cast, and then you would start back at 0. Now it'll roll over. So if you went to 45, it would now be, you would start your next round with 5 mana. Not next round, sorry. Next rotation of your ability with 5 mana, okay? So I think that's a great change because it takes a lot of like really annoying parts of the game for me as a high level player. I don't want to be sitting here constantly doing calculations for every like, oh, I have Scholar in, so therefore now Adaptive Helm is going to, you know, be optimized for this, and I'm going to lose my mana here. There's still going to be some optimizations, of course, but the optimizations are just like less intense, which is nice. And now the downside to that is it makes items feel a little bit less unique. But if not having to do this like really annoying math and like pulling up a spreadsheet and doing this stuff and just like, you know, looking at Ace's Twitter because he's really good at math and I'm not as good as math, like, you know, like at least for me, like, you know, like that's just a part of the game I don't want to focus on, is obscure scenarios of mana math that I have to calculate all the time to know which item I should have built on 3-2. Like, I don't really like expressing skill in that way, but, you know, yeah, you could argue that, you know, making the mana items more similar does take some of the flavor out of the items, but I think there's enough complexity and fun in TFT with charms, portals, augments, you know, all that stuff, that it's fine if the items are just a little bit bland. Especially we have artifacts and all the other stuff. Like, I think it's fine for some of the base items to be vanilla. Like, caught, I think it's fine. Anyways, other than that, guys, I just think the set is really pretty. I think TFT has done a great job of making the game really pretty. There's some other quality of life changes, like you can I don't know if this was added later on in the set because I didn't play the last half of set 11, but like when you right click your traits, you can like hover over the champions and then also see their traits and their stuff like that. So it makes it a lot easier, especially when you're learning the new set, to know which the units are, because it's really hard to know what the units are based off their portraits, especially like look at Ari's portrait. Like she's wearing a mask. Like Ari doesn't normally wear a mask, because I don't know that's Ari when I look at it. So I think that's really cool, and I think that'll be very good for the game. So anyways, guys, this is just a very short, you know, small opinion on the game, and I'm very positive on this set. I think it does have the potential to be one of the best sets. Now I say that all the time, but I'm a bit of an optimist, and I do believe conceptually this is good, and charms and the design of the set overall, my first impressions of it seem very good, and I'm looking forward to see how this shakes out. I think it will be a lot better than set 11. I think the devs learned a lot from that set, and I think we are in for a banger set. I could be wrong, and if you want to tell me how wrong I am, make sure to come over and comment in the comment section, and then come over to Twitch, because I'll be live a bunch this week and next week, and obviously on launch. I'll be filming another video next week, letting you guys know some of my plans, because you know, a lot has changed in my life. My life has been very fluid lately, and I think you'll be pretty happy with some updates that I'll have to give you guys. Not trying to jerk anybody around, but I think you'll be very pleased with the video I make next week, talking about some stuff. So stick around for that. But anyways, appreciate you guys, and I'll see you on the next one.